Hello everyone! Today we want to talk about past time. It means different past times, like past, as you can see here, we have past simple, past continuous, past perfect, simple and continuous. Would for past habits. Would is a modal verb which has a lot of functions, a lot of uses in English. We are talking about a specific use of would in English for past habits. And used to, this is very common. Used to for past habits and states. Now, let's begin. Our first slide is for past simple. The first use of past simple is to describe finished actions at a specific past time. Look, specific time is very important in past simple. You need to remember that. It is either specified or implied. We'll talk about it later on with more detail. I talked to Alan last night. So, talked, you see, you must be familiar with the form of past simple. And talked, past simple form, affirmative, to Alan last night, a specific time. I saw him at the front desk. You may say that this is not a specific time, but this is a specific place. This agrees with the theory of relativity in Einstein's theory that time and space are basically the same thing. So when you mention the space, you are practically mentioning the time. So yes, apart from that, grammatically, it means the same thing. Next, another use of past simple is describe habits and states or facts in the past. We say, for example, she called me every Sunday. It means it was a frequent event that happened on a regular basis every Sunday. We had a bigger house before. This is a fact. This is a fact this is a state which was true before. Next, let's start with past continuous. Events in progress at a specific past time. What does that mean? For example, it says, what were you doing at 8 last night? This reminds you of some police interrogation. And like last night at 8, some murder or some crime happened and they are interrogating you, questioning you. So this is a specific time again, just like past simple. I was reading when you called me. When you called me, a specific past time, I was reading. Something was going on at that specific time. Another use of past continuous. We use past continuous in two sentences, one after another, when we want to say two events were happening at the same time, like two continuous events at the same time. When I was calling him, he was calling me. Like, this is another use of past continuous. Yes, past continuous. Trends in the past. The car was getting worse every time. So something was gradually becoming something else. So this is exactly like present continuous. We describe present trends. People are becoming more and more interested in this or that. She was gradually getting better. So if you want to describe a trend in the past time, you use past continuous. And you use time expressions like every time, gradually, more, and so on. Another use of past continuous is to complain about annoying habits in the past that happened too often, like excessively. We say it's like annoying past habits with a frequency adverb. It is very common. If you remember, in our other video on present time, we had a very similar function for present continuous. And with adverbs of frequency, we say, she's always telling me what to do. Your tone is annoyed. So this is basically the same thing, but in the past. She was always complaining. You see, you go up. She was always complaining. So the tone is important in this use. He was forever asking stupid questions. So yes, annoying past habits, you are complaining. Now, Imagine you're telling a story. Another name for a story is a narrative. So a narrative is a story. Past simple and past continuous are the most common narrative forms. It means when you want to tell a story, you use these two like one after another. And the thing is, you use past simple to describe main events in the story. What is a main event in a story? A main event, I say, for example, I opened the door and I went in. We have two main events because opening the door and going in, each one of these events push the story, each one of them pushes the story forward. So we call them main events. And we have past continuous, which we use to describe background events. Example, yesterday, a specific time. I was walking. You know, the part of I was walking is not interesting to the audience. So yeah, I was walking, I was listening, I was thinking on something when something happened. So the interesting part of the story is the main event of the story that, again, advances the plot. Yesterday, I was walking when I saw Tara. This is the main event, the interesting part. She was talking on the phone. This is not the interesting part. And didn't notice me. This is another main event in past simple. Past perfect. Listen. Past in the past. It is called past in the past, but it is sometimes meaningless. So you need to understand what it is in practice. Going back in a story. Let me explain. It says, I walked to the door, main event, the first event. Reached into my pocket, the second main event. So past simple, past simple. Then realized the third main event, past simple. Realized I had forgotten my keys. So the thing is, it depends where you begin your story. We decided to begin our story here, okay? So I walked to the door, the first event. Next one, reached into my pocket, the next event. I remembered, sorry, this realized, remembered. This is supposed to be realized. And then, now you are telling that story. You remembered that you had forgotten your keys. It means you go, I did this, I did that, and then you go back. I remembered I hadn't done something like that. So when you go back in the story, and the thing is, listen, it all depends where you decide to begin your story. Okay? So you could begin your story here. You could say, I reached into my pocket. I had walked to the door. You see, so it depends where you begin your story. And this is like the most common use of past perfect. Past perfect continuous. This is, again, past in the past, again, but with emphasis on duration. And remember, like the most fundamental difference between simple tenses and continuous tenses is that the continuous tense is continuous. So that is like the biggest difference, which needs no explanation. When the pilot started talking, okay, again, we are telling a story in the past. When the pilot started talking, this is a specific past time, and this is past simple, because this is the main event of your story. We had already been flying for 3 hours. Remember, with past perfect continuous, just like present perfect continuous, just like future perfect continuous, it is very common that we use a period of time, a duration, because we are emphasizing the duration here. Already been flying for 3 hours. So this is the timeline. It says, this is now, I'm telling you this story, and this is in the past. It started talking. So when the pilot started talking in here. So we had already been flying for 3 hours. So in here, the flight started here, and the pilot started talking in here. But I decided to begin my story at this point. You see, it's all about your choice, especially when it comes to advanced grammar. So our next slide, used to. We use used to describe habits and states in the past. I used to be a civil engineer. And she didn't used to read much. Look at this. We didn't say she didn't use the to, so pay attention to this part. Next slide is about would. We use would. You know, would is a modal verb which has a lot of uses in English. We are talking about the specific use of would for reminiscing. Reminiscing, it means when you talk about good old days, like, and we say we would do this in the past, we would do that. This is called reminiscing. And we use, look, would is very similar to used to. The only difference is we only use action verbs with would. Past habits, action verbs only. We would play in the park every weekend when I was a kid. Like, again, this is some form of reminiscing. We would play in the park when I was a kid. And we cannot say we would have a beautiful house when I was a kid, because this is a state verb. This is not an action. We could say we used to have a big house, a beautiful house, but we cannot say we would have. And our last slide before the exercise, this is about unfulfilled past events. Look, this is a very common form in English that it's very useful to know. Events intended to take place but didn't. When you say, I was going to call you, it means you didn't call. So, was or were going to plus space form. It means you didn't. He was thinking of applying. It means, you know, he didn't apply. So, was or were thinking of a noun or a noun phrase or a gerund. She was about to, so were. She was about to make a left turn. It means something happened that interrupted her, so she didn't at that moment. So was or were about to plus base form. Another common form in the same category is I was to have joined them at the party. It means I didn't join them at the party. So when you say I was to have joined them at the party, it means the party was last week, and for example, it's finished. So was or were to have plus past participle form. So remember, pay attention to the following or preceding nouns. So let's get to the exercises. You could pause the video and answer the questions, and then we'll take it from there, or I'm going to start explaining as of now. Number one, when you passed the town hall clock, did you notice or were you noticing what time it was? This is obviously, did you notice? Because this is a main event, not the background event. 2, last night, my neighbors were shouting or would shout for hours and I couldn't get to sleep. So last night we have a specific time, something was going on at a specific time, obviously past continuous. Number 3, and you're not reminiscing in here, obviously. Number 3, when you lived in London, did you used to travel or were you traveling by bus? Like, were you traveling doesn't make sense in here at all. So we could say it's completely wrong. So did you used to? It means did you have the habit? Number 4, everyone was having a good time, although not many people danced or not many people were dancing. Look, when you say not many people danced, it is grammatically correct, but it has a different meaning. It means finished. Now I'm talking about the finished story, but in here I'm talking about the background of the situation. Number 5, Jill was really hungry because she didn't eat. She hadn't eaten all day. Remember where you begin your story. So she was hungry. That's the beginning of your story. She hadn't eaten. Now you want to go back to say why she was hungry. So this is past perfect. Number 6. We decided to go to the cinema, but before that, we went or we had gone for a pizza. Look, be very careful when you use prepositions before and after, because sometimes it is obsolete. It means it is not needed to use past perfect. When you use we did that before that. You see, but sometimes it makes your sentence like incomprehensible, like in here. This, in here, you cannot use had gone. Before that, that refers to going to the cinema or deciding something. You need to be very careful. This had in here is referring to going to the cinema, not deciding. But if you use had gone, it means before deciding. So it makes the sentence completely like nonsensical. Number 7. It took a while for me to notice, but then I did. Everyone stared, or obviously, something was going on, the background story. Everyone was staring at me. Now we want to know why. So that is the main event of your story. What had I done wrong anyway? Number 8. Nobody bothered to tell me that the school decided or had decided. Look, nobody bothered. This is the beginning point of your story. So, when was that decision made? Before this, obviously. So, nobody bothered to tell me that the school had decided to have a holiday. It means they decided, then they didn't bother to tell this guy. Number 9. I was trying to contact you all day yesterday. It means like unfulfilled again situation. I was trying to. 10. Excuse me, but this seat is mine. It is B. I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I wouldn't realize. It doesn't make sense. So I didn't realize. And it's a fact, like or a state in the past. Now, our last exercise, second and last exercise today. Complete the text with a suitable past form. This time last year, we need to use, again, you can hold it and write the answers yourself first. This time last year, a specific time in the past, I cycled, probably a continuous event. So I was cycling in the rain along a country road in France with a friend of mine. We need to see when this happened. Yeah, and I'm cycling obviously before this. So past perfect. We had decided to go. Again, remember when they begin the story, your using of past perfect or not using of past perfect depends on the beginning point of your story, and that is your decision. Cycling in to go on a cycling holiday in Normandy. Neither of us. So again, before that, obviously, they are in France when the story is happening. So, but before that, they hadn't been to France before. But we just state a fact in the past simple. We knew some French from our time at school, and we, again, because we had managed. Look, it is not completely wrong to use past simple in here, because you could say, oh, we knew and we managed, or we knew and we had managed. Sometimes it isn't not this or that. Sometimes, it's your choice. Just like this one, you could use past simple or past perfect. To brush up on the basics. Now, we were wondering, now is this time last year, we were wondering if, again going back, if we had made the right decision. We had planned, again, at this moment we had planned it, obviously, we are on the journey now. So, our route carefully in advance, but we, again, had forgotten, obviously, before that. One important thing, the weather. It had been raining up until this moment. Suddenly, since our arrival, emphasis on the duration of something. So past perfect continuous. Look, in here you could also use, let me see, it had rained solidly. Yes, you could use past perfect simple as well, but this is better. Because it is a continuous thing, and you want to put emphasis on the duration. One important thing, yes, solidly since our arrival, and that night, we ended up, because this is after this, ended up sleeping in the waiting room at the railway station. The next morning, as we were writing, or you could say as we wrote, past simple or past continuous. I'm telling you, sometimes it is either this or that. But sometimes it is right or wrong, so you need to be smart about it. Just don't be mechanical. And we'll ride like too mechanical. A little bit mechanical is good. We're riding down a steep hill. My bike skidded main event. So we're riding, background event, skidded, main event. On the wet road, and I, again, the next main event fell off. I realized, because this is after this, so this is yet another main event, immediately that I had broken. See, because breaking happens obviously before realizing. So had broken my arm, and after a visit to the local hospital, I caught next main event, the next train to Calais for the ferry home. Unfortunately, my parents weren't expecting me, or didn't expect me. Again, we could use either past continuous or past simple. Me home for a fortnight. And obviously, this is the moment I get home. So they had gone away on holidays. So I spent next main event a miserable couple of weeks alone reading Teach Yourself French. Okay, that is it for today. See you next time.